Welcome to episode 217 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. It's June 5, 1957. Brussels, Heysel Stadium. Belgium against Iceland. A World Cup qualifier for Sweden 1958. And honestly, the match itself is almost over before halftime. Belgium are already 6-1 up. And then the referee points to the penalty spot. Up steps Rik Coppens, Beerschot idol, Belgian international. Showman, creator, and scorer. The normal thing is obvious. Shoot, make it 7. But instead, Coppens looks at the penalty spot and sees something else. Not a shot, but a pass. And in that moment, football discovers one of its strangest legal tricks. The penalty 1-2. But how did we get here? To understand why this works, we have to begin with the law. Law 14. The penalty kick. The law is more flexible than most people instinctively think. A penalty is not required to be blasted directly at goal. A goal may be scored directly from a penalty kick, yes, but that doesn't mean the taker must shoot. The ball must be stationary on the penalty mark. The referee gives the signal. The taker must kick the ball forward, and the ball is in play when it's kicked and clearly moves. And the kicker must not play it again until it has touched another player. That is the door, small but open. If the ball is played forward, and if a teammate stays outside the penalty area until the kick is taken, that teammate can run in and play it. The original kicker can then touch it again because someone else has touched it. So the penalty pass is not a loophole against the laws. It is the laws, read carefully. But the timing has to be perfect. Too early and the teammate has encroached. Too slow and defenders arrive. Too clever and you do look ridiculous. And here's the crucial prehistory. Because Coppens wasn't the first person to see the door. Just 5 weeks earlier, on May 1st, 1957, Northern Ireland played Portugal at Windsor Park in Belfast in another World Cup qualifier. Northern Ireland were 2-0 up. Jimmy McIlroy and Danny Blanchflower tried the trick. One of them touched the ball from the spot and the other raced into the finish. But the ball went in. But the referee disallowed it. The reason was not that a penalty pass was illegal. The issue was encroachment. The runner had entered the penalty area too early, so the kick was retaken conventionally and McIlroy scored. Northern Ireland won 3-0. That distinction matters. Northern Ireland had attempted the idea. Coppens and André Piters would make it count. Did Coppens know about Blanchflower and McIlroy? It's tempting to say yes. The matches were only 5 weeks apart. They were both World Cup qualifiers. Football news traveled through newspapers, newsreels, dressing room talk, and federation circles. Coppens was not some isolated local amateur. He was one of Belgium's great football personalities. Coppens saw a moment, and he performed. June 5, 1957. Belgium start fast. Richard Orlands scores early. André Piters makes it 2-0. Paul Vandenberg adds another. Victor Mies scores twice. Iceland pull one back through Thorður Thordarson. Then Coppens scores Belgium's 6th, and almost immediately Belgium get the penalty. The Icelandic goalkeeper is Björgvin Hermannsson. The crowd is under 7,000, not a massive occasion, not a glamorous superstage, but Belgian football is watching. And Coppens, already with the score 6-1, decides to do something that belongs half to the rulebook and half to jazz. He nudges the ball forward and to the right. Piters runs in and reaches it, but instead of shooting, he returns it first time. The keeper is drawn out, the defenders are frozen. Coppens receives the return and taps into an open goal. Belgium 7, Iceland 1. The stadium understands it only after it has happened. Not a missed penalty, not a rebound, not a mistake, but a designed 1-2 from the spot. The match ends 8-3, but nobody remembers Belgium 8, Iceland 3 because of the 8. They remember it because one of those goals changed what a penalty could look like. And so what? The reaction was not on universally admiration. That is the fascinating part. The crowd enjoyed it. Later accounts say the stadium reacted with amazement, the football equivalent of, what did we just see? Foreign newspapers noticed it too. A Dutch report the next day specifically described Belgium reaching halftime thanks to a penalty converted by Coppens through a combination with Piters. So the move did travel. But the Belgian football authorities were not delighted. The federation considered the trick disrespectful, and Coppens was effectively snubbed for the return match. That is fascinating, and which is almost better as a story. A player reads the law correctly. He scores legally. The crowd is thrilled. The world remembers it. But the administrators say, don't embarrass us by being that imaginative. And that is football too. Then the move disappears into folklore until someone famous resurrects it. December 5, 1982. Ajax against Helmond Sport. Johan Cruyff, back at Ajax and already football's great professor of space, steps up for a penalty. He rolls it left to Jesper Olsen. Olsen returns it, and Cruyff scores. To much of the world, this becomes the Cruyff penalty. Of course it does. Cruyff has a gravitational field. Any football idea near him becomes part of his mythology. But even Cruyff didn't invent this one. Northern Ireland had tried it. Coppens and Piters had scored it. Cruyff and Olsen made it canonical for the television age. In 1964, between Coppens and Cruyff, Plymouth Argyle used it in the English second division against Manchester City. Johnny Newman flicked the ball forward. Mike Treblecock ran in and scored. And Plymouth won 3-2. That one matters because it shows the trick was not just a national team curiosity. It could live in league football too. And then come the modern versions. Brøndby in Denmark in 2007. Martin Eriksson and Morten Duncan Rasmussen make it work in the Superliga. Barcelona in 2016. Lionel Messi rolls the ball for Luis Suárez against Celta Vigo at Camp Nou. Suárez completes his hat-trick. The world explodes in clips, arguments, admiration, and irritation. Was it genius? Was it disrespect? Was it a tribute to Cruyff? Or was it just that Barcelona doing Barcelona things? The debate itself tells you why the move matters. A normal penalty is private, shooter against goalkeeper. A penalty pass makes it communal. It turns the most individual set piece in football into a combination move. That is why it feels delightful to some people and offensive to others. It breaks the ritual. And then, of course, there's the other side of the story. When it fails spectacularly. October 2005, Arsenal against Manchester City. Robert Pirès is supposed to roll the ball for Thierry Henry. But Pirès doesn't strike it cleanly. The ball barely moves. Henry hesitates, and the whole thing collapses into confusion. Manchester City clear. Arsenal still win 1-0, but nobody remembers the win. They remember Pirès standing there, halfway between genius and embarrassment. That is the tax on audacity. If you shoot and miss, you're wasteful. If you pass and fail, you are a clown. The law also keeps changing around the edges. Modern Law 14 is now very explicit about accidental double touches, encroachment, feinting, and when the ball is in play. And there's one more thing to remember. This works only during normal play. In a penalty shootout, there are no teammates to combine with. It is one kicker, one goalkeeper, one kick. But in open play, the penalty pass remains legal. Rare, risky, but legal. And that brings us back to Rik Coppens. He was not a one-trick curiosity. He won Belgium's first golden shoe in 1954. He scored 21 goals in 47 appearances for Belgium. At club level, he was a Beerschot legend, a brilliant extroverted forward with more than 250 league goals. And yet the football world mostly remember him for one moment. One wink at the rulebook, one conversation with Piters, one goalkeeper left on the ground, and one goal that says creativity doesn't always require a new law. Sometimes it requires reading the old law better than everyone else. Before we go, 3 things to take away from June 5, 1957. First, the penalty pass is legal because Law 14 makes the ball live once it is kicked forward and clearly moves. But the kicker cannot touch it again until someone else has. Second, Coppens and Piters were not inventing from nothing. Blanchflower and McIlroy had tried it five weeks earlier for Northern Ireland, but encroachment killed the goal. Coppens and Piters made the idea survive on the scoreboard. Third, football innovation is always judged by outcome. Coppens becomes a genius. Cruyff becomes a professor. Messi and Suárez become viral artists. Pirès and Henry become a punchline. Same idea, different execution. On this day in 1957, Rik Coppens turned a penalty into a pass, combined with André Piters, scored for Belgium against Iceland, and gave football one of its most audacious, legal, and enduring pieces of mischief. That is all for episode 217 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Laws Guy. Please rate the show 5 stars so we can humor the algorithm. If you have an idea to the show, my email is otd@17lawsguy.com. Tomorrow, go to June 6, 1937, when Bologna defeated Chelsea in Paris, and an Italian club beat an English club to win an international tournament for the first time. A fascist-era tournament, a London giant, and Bologna telling Europe, Italy has arrived. See you then.